Okay, Rod.
Yes.
A little bit of a trigger warning for you first. I'm going to show you something.
I'm very easily triggered.
Look, I didn't blow this picture up. It's a little bit gross. I thought goddamn horrific. But maybe I'm just visualizing a little bit about what it is. Okay, so in 1985, 5-year-old Guy Condelli, and I think I was 5 in 1985, so I empathize a lot with him.
You turned 6 in 1985. I know when you were born.
Yeah, I know. I turned 6.
You were born
but I also
when I was
5.
finishing primary school.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anyway, so
I'm so old, he's
in
so
1985, Guy Condelli, he lived in the Boston area at the time,
Yep.
had his ear bitten off by a dog. So
Yeah, so did I.
here's the picture of his head,
Oh.
and there's the ear. The ear is
So the ear doesn't appear to be on his head in this photo.
it's completely off his head.
That's very neat, though.
Well, that's the thing I was thinking about.
That's super neat.
So pretty luckily, I thought, dog gets your ear off and it's going to be mangled, savaged. It's going to be in pieces. But no, this is quite a neat.
This dog's wanting to be a surgeon. I'm pretty clear on that.
Look, it is a little bit dog surgery. Look, it's quite neat. It's come off in one piece. It's just the ear.
Look, whenever I've bitten an ear off, it's been way more wrangled. What is it? Ragged, mangled.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Mike Tyson. No, he just bit into an ear.
Yeah, it's not an animal.
Anyway, so it's pretty much intact. Now, reattachment of severed ears are, or at least were in 1985, rarely successful. I don't know how much more successful they are at the time. Now,
How often would it happen?
it does happen.
I'm sure it does.
Probably dogs. Well, so at the time, there had only been one other reported success, and that was 5 years earlier in Australia in 1980. So
Was that you as well?
it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I didn't lose my ear ever.
1980.
No, the problem is that reattachments of severed ears are tricky because there's lots of little tiny blood vessels in there, really tiny things.
Why? Heat dispersion.
There you go. Or something, or hearing.
Like those dinosaurs with the big sails.
So in fact, they're so small that you can't even see them with the naked eye.
No, that's small.
Yeah, that's tiny. So so they were really quite worried about this, but because it was such a neat pre-surgery by the dog, they thought, all right, let's see if we can do this. We can get this back on because this is a pretty good ear to have a go on.
Nice work, Rover.
All right. So this is Dr. Joseph Upton was the surgeon at the Boston Children's Hospital, and they had a go. They had a team of surgeons working for 12 hours under microscopes that magnified 40 times the torn.
12 hours for a fucking child's ear.
Yes. They've
What's
got
wrong
to
with a
attach
staple gun? I mean, seriously, they join up.
some fabric glue.
Yeah, the blood cells, the blood vessels, they work it out. They're friends. They know what to do.
Yeah. Well, I would have. You'd hope
Especially in
that.
a kid still developing. They are stem cells.
Yes, that's true. I don't know if you can tell that to the parents, though. I don't know if you say,
I'll
look,
tell them. What's their
look,
number?
Mum and
No,
Dad.
give me the number.
Look, Mum and Dad. So kids are still developing. If you just hold it there, they'll probably reattach themselves just fine.
Keep them still.
And I'm sure that might have been what they did in the past.
Yeah, here's a Panadol
in
and a
the
staple
olden
gun.
times.
Job done, boom.
But no. All right. So they worked for 12 hours, team of surgeons, and they've got the magnifying glasses, microscopes. I don't know, but it's 40 times, so that they can zoom in
40.
to see the actual.
I think these glasses do 40 times, so that's not very
Don't do
sophisticated.
40. All right, but the operation worked. They sewed the ear back on, and blood flowed through the ear nicely. Here's a picture of it first reattached. There you can see it's nicely jointed.
Now it just looks badass.
Yeah, there's some
It's
scar.
5, I've seen some shit.
But
Right.
while the blood flowed through the ear, clots formed in the veins, so it couldn't return to the heart. 3 days after the operation, the ear turned blackish blue and was congested with blood. The doctors gave the boy Herapin, which is a medicine that prevents clotting.
Not as good as warfarin.
No, not as good as warfarin.
Just saying.
Not as good as warfarin. However, I will tell you about something better than warfarin, which is weird. I don't know why I'm doing a sequel today, but anyway.
Coincidence.
They gave him the Herapin to prevent clotting and made cuts to the ear to let the blood out. But Guy was still
16th century surgery.
Well,
what he needs is a good bleeding.
still losing a lot of blood, and doctors feared the operation would fail. Welcome to the
To the hosty show.
the Wholesome show.
Wholesome show.
A wholesome show. The Science Stories podcast for people who sit up the back of the classroom.
And in which we will ask the pointless question. Unusual question so that you don't have to.
Yeah, like this is a service. This is a service. You know, there's the other services like the ambulances, the doctors, the firefighters. Yeah, we're the stupid question service.
Yeah, and we're good at it. Like really?
Well, look, stupid questions and some answers.
Don't waste your money on other people doing this. We'll do it for you much more cheaply and prolifically.
The Wholesome Show is very proudly brought to you by a legitimate university centre, which is weird when we bill ourselves as the stupid question answers, but there's a method to the madness. Brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
It is. That's true. Who are you?
Oh, I'm Will Grant.
I'm Dr. Roderick Griffin. My ears attach themselves, Lamberts.
It really does feel like they should.
They do.
I feel like...
Try it.
It would have been nice if we evolved from one of those animals that did, can reattach things, like starfish.
Sphinx. Skink.
No, I think they only lose things.
No. I have the little lizards around my house, and you see them, and their tail that goes to chink, and then you see the same one, because obviously I know them by name, in summer, and its tail starts to grow back. They've got the little stumpies.
Yeah, but the tail, they can't reattach the tail.
No, it grows back. Like children's ears.
So there we go. So children's ears, we just let the ear grow back on. All right.
But they didn't let it grow. That's their mistake. They were impatient.
The leech is not a slug, nor is it a bug or reptile or an insect. Sometimes it's not slimy either. The leech is an invertebrate animal belonging to the phylum Annelida. I'm just saying that because...
Slow down, egghead. That's a lot of Latin.
That's some science words. I
got some too. Astropathorillicus?
Yes. There's some...
Microscope.
I threw in a bunch of science words in here just because I thought you might like to know some science words.
I already know some. Statistics. Biology.
Physics.
Yeah,
where do we go? Annelida. I don't know what else is Annelida. Oh, no, I do, because I wrote it down. A zoological category that includes more than 15,000 species of segmented bristleworms. I don't know if we needed 15,000 segmented bristleworms.
Fuck, someone got carried away. Like, really? That's my department? Watch this, son of a bitch. If I can't do rhinoceros, I'm going to do a shitload of these things.
I know, but it's also, how different are they really? I mean, they're all segmented bristleworms. Like, I think the boundary...
humans are four-limbed, one-headed... Most humans, I apologise, are four-limbed, one-headed creatures. How different are they?
Yeah.
Can you tell your children apart from other people's children?
Sometimes.
Yeah, they're different.
Sometimes I can.
Like bristleworms can tell each other apart.
Well, exactly, but do they need 15,000 species to do it? All right. Oh, hang on. And 650 species of leeches in the subclass.
650?
Hirudinea.
650 types of leeches.
There's a lot of leeches. I'm
getting that.
I will... here we go. Not all leeches suck blood, and not all blood-sucking leeches seek the blood of humans. So in fact, there's some pretty specialised leeches out there. There's one that lives... I don't know if it's
single malt. This one will drink human blood, but it has to be between 38 and 39 degrees centigrade.
I don't know about that.
For sure.
No, one desert variety lives in camels' noses.
Good God.
Yeah.
Desert leech.
Yeah, it does sound the wrong place. When you think of leeches, you think of bogs and swamps.
Well, I think moisture of any description, the idea that there's a desert leech, I mean, that is a determined little cuss.
Well, it's in a camel's nose. That's going to be the most moist place. I guess if there's oases.
Gross.
Oases might have a leech.
Oases.
Another oases.
Oases. I don't know. So Noel and Liam Gallagher together, Oasis or Oases?
Well, they're Gallaghers, but...
A Gallagher of Oases. Okay, we got that sorted.
Another type of leech feeds on bats. Some eat hamsters and frogs. Now, when I read that, some eat hamsters and frogs, I thought that's very different from the sort of leech I understand. I don't know if they live on hamster blood or leech blood, or
No,
if
they eat the whole
if
animal.
they do the whole animal. So let's leave that one up in the air.
No,
Well,
bring it back.
the giant Amazon leech, which can grow to 45 centimeters long.
Fuck off.
For Americans out there, that's 1.5 feet.
That's about a mile.
Yeah, that is a long. But it also, even beyond 45 centimeters, it feeds by getting this proboscis, which is a straw type thing, that goes like 10 centimeters long out of its and
That's a
sucks.
fucking cannula. That's like a surgical procedure. Jesus.
But luckily, we don't have to worry about the giant Amazon leech unless you live in the Amazon, listener.
I'm going to worry. Climate change, they're coming. They're getting on the back of the giant mosquitoes.
I'll just tell you one thing. I'm jumping ahead a tiny bit here, but leeches that live in ponds have an uncanny ability, it is said, to head to...
It is said.
It is said.
From the impeccable source of they reckon.
It is said by people who know this. An uncanny ability to head towards the source of waves. So if you're in a pond and you're making waves, they have I don't know how well they swim, but it must be enough that they uncannily head towards the source of the waves.
They'll crawl up your whittle too.
Didn't cover that. I do cover some related things.
Good.
Do cover some related things. Anyway.
The whittle leech, it's quite famous in Kangaroo Valley, New South Wales.
With the whittle. Is the whittle leech a little bit like a drop bear? It's a nice thing
We
to...
definitely have drop bears. I told you, did I ever tell you that story? When we used to do kids camps in Kangaroo Valley, we'd tell them one night, say, you got to be careful of the drop bears. The way to avoid them is you put toothpaste behind your ears and Vegemite on your top lip.
That's bullying.
Yeah, and then one morning 2 kids came out.
Oh, no.
With the full gear looking really quite terrified.
Oh.
And some of us felt bad. Not all. It's hard. It's hard. You don't want to make them feel bad, but it's fucking hilarious.
I know, but
They weren't 5. They were like 11.
Oh, 11.
Yeah.
11-year-olds should be up for all of it. They
Anyway,
deserve
that's
everything they get.
Drop bears and whittle leeches.
Everything they get. All right, out of those 15,650 different types of leeches, there's one in particular. And you can tell by its Latin name that it's the good one because this is Hirudo being leeches in general. Hirudo medicinalis. So its last name is medicine. So
you sound like a cool Spanish dude.
Hirudo medicinalis. Yeah.
I am the best shaman in the world.
No, he's Zorro's little brother.
Yeah,
like
little brother.
Well, of course.
Yeah, of course. So the oldest son goes into being a vigilante. The next son goes into medicine.
Zorro does not have a big brother. Like Zorro is a big brother. Like clearly,
the quintessential. I agree.
Or more commonly, obviously, the medicinal leech. Now, the Hirudo medicinalis lives in freshwater, grows to 12 centimeters in length, so not huge, but
that's enough.
That's
about a mile and a half.
Do you want to see some pictures of
course.
where is? Okay, so here's one on. So that's the length of his palms.
That guy looks like he's in charge of a cult. So there's a guy with a weird stare looking to the middle distance, a little tie, a white shirt.
I like this guy better.
And both his palms are up, and he's got giant.
I like
fat
this guy
leeches
better.
on him.
This guy's got giant fat leeches all over him.
Oh, fucking gross.
So
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they both look very happy. In
Yeah.
fact, it might be the same guy at different stages of his life. I think it is.
Gross.
He's got the same shirt. Of course it's the same guy. He's just much older. Like that's him in the 80s and that's him in the 90s.
Same shirt. I'd like to order 10 shirts. What kind? I think you know. Homer Simpson style.
Yeah, exactly. The shirt. I go and get the shirt.
I would like a shirt and a pants, please.
Okay, so it grows to 12 centimeters long. Although its resting size is usually only 1/3 of its stretch length. So
it's a grower, not a shower.
Definitely. Leeches are all growers. I think the idea of a shower as a leech wouldn't work.
Less effective.
It wouldn't.
Well, similar to what we're referring to, they need to be engorged with the bloods to be larger.
They are very similar.
But they choose other people's blood. There's a profound take on foreplay, etc.
That's beautiful.
First, I've got to take in enough blood to make myself functional. I'm glad we evolved differently.
Okay, they've got 2 suckers. One on the front, one on the back, or
really?
the anterior and the posterior.
Really?
Yes. One's for actually sucking out the blood, and the other is for holding on.
Right.
So or crawling or whatever. So that's your movement sucker and your eating sucker.
Your butt suck and your blood suck.
Now they've got a variety of different jawry teeth arrangements.
Yeah,
so
they
there's some
do.
awesome photos out there on YouTube, not YouTube. the internet, the
Instagram.
Instagram.
Have you followed? Look at these leeches on
like
Instagram.
Their mouths sometimes. So sometimes they look like the worms from Jaws. Not Jaws. June.
Yeah,
They have thousands.
They look like those tunneling machines.
Yeah, they have. So their mouths can sometimes have 600 teeth. Hirudo medicinalis has. It's got lots of teeth, but it's also got these sort of three jaws that are shaped like
predator.
Yeah, a little bit like that. No more. Yeah,
but more teeth.
So they cut actually a Y-shaped hole into their victim.
I think for medicinalis you mean a Y-shaped incision into their patient.
Yes. Okay, it's not a hole. It's a Y shape.
Incision.
But some people describe this as looking like the Mercedes-Benz logo. Yeah. Well, it makes you feel better.
You know, I was driving on the way here past a new Mercedes-Benz Leech mobile. It did not remind me of bloodsucking at all.
No, but now you can.
Or now it only will.
Now you can. You just think every time you see that logo, that is the shape of a leech suck.
Okay.
Leech suck.
Job done.
Okay. As well as 2 suckers, it has 10 stomachs, 32 brains, 9 pairs of testicles.
Wow. So redundancy is something that they've not thought about.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, just how many stomachs?
How many stomachs?
10, another one?
10? Fuck off. 20? Come on, come back to me.
They do when they eat. They eat once a year, sort of thing.
What?
They're not a fast eating species. They'll have a good meal, which takes them 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that.
And then they stop for a year.
And that's it for a year. Now I enjoy eating. Eating is a great thing.
Even more than once a year?
Even more than once a year.
So extravagant. You got a cleaner, a boutique dog, and you eat more than once a year.
Exactly. Look at me.
Fucking
Look at me.
fancy.
I am such a capitalist.
Fancy.
As I said before, in their normal habitat, hungry leeches rest at the edge of a pond, which is so romantic. They're sort of sunning themselves by the pond.
Taking in the view.
Yeah, exactly. And then they swim with amazing accuracy towards the source of the waves.
But you would. Like if it's once a year, when it's time, it's time.
Okay. Now, leech saliva contains a whole bunch of chemicals, enzymes, proteins, and stuff like that. And I'm going to read some science names just because I enjoyed them.
Okay. Which accent?
No, they're science names, so you got to do them in science voice.
Do it Russian. Do it Russian.
I can't. Why would I do?
Khilosti postura.
Hi. No, see, the problem is I've got to work out how to pronounce them. Okay, so Hirudo is the big star. That one is the anti-clotting agent, which is better than warfarin.
How dare you?
Suck it, warfarin. Suck it. Suck it.
Umbrage.
Better.
I'm umbraged.
Better. Harder to farm. Harder to farm.
Far out. What do you do? Leeches, anti-clotting agents.
Yeah, you gotta suck them out. Okay, it's got hyaluron. That one's a bad one. Collagenase, fibrinase. I've skipped it. Hemantin, plasmagen activators, bedelins. Bedelins.
Bedelin? That sounds like a cheese.
No, to me that sounds like the swamp neighbours. Like if you live in the Appalachians, the bedelins are
goddamn bedelins again.
Bedelins.
Taking all our catfish.
It's also got eglins, elastase, cathaspin B, antihistamines, and apirase. So the main things that they're doing there, it's got local anaesthetic, so you're not going to feel it, and it prevents clotting, which is what the leech wants. It wants to be able to suck onto you, grab your blood without you really being bothered by it or noticing, and letting the blood flow directly into the leech.
Well, which is preferable, because if you knew about it, there would be a lot less leeches.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, here we go. Hirudo, so suck it warfarin, is the most potent natural anticoagulant known. Okay, it does say natural. So does warfarin not count as natural?
Comes from sweet clover, mate.
Yeah, there you go.
Mate, weren't you listening?
I was, but they did some science to it. So this is directly from nature.
You just squeeze a leech and you
squeeze a leech.
Get your anticoags.
It inhibits thrombin-catalyzed conversion of fibrogen to fibrin. And that will
I was going to guess that.
That'll be on the test, listener. You have to
thrombosis.
The secretions of a single leech can prevent in vitro coagulation of 50 to 100 mils of human blood.
In vitro.
Okay, so here we go. Typical ingestion of a leech is 5 to 10 mils, which is...
Once a year, 5 to 10 mils.
Yeah, that's it. And that's it. So it could be 9 times their body weight. So they don't weigh very much. They're like 1 gram or something like that. And it may constitute an entire year's meal. So...
I suppose if each stomach, let's say it takes, 2 weeks?
A month per stomach.
2 weeks.
I don't know how that works. I don't know if they're doing a stomach per month or...
Oh, we don't have to sequential. Maybe they all work in parallel.
I think it's a parallel system.
What the... Okay.
No, it can't be. It's got to be sequential. Like you're a linear animal. A leech is a linear
balls.
animal. But they also, I didn't mention, so they all have 9 pairs of testicles, but they're hermaphrodites. So they also have
9 pairs of vaginas.
I don't know if they have 9 pairs of vaginas.
Is that how it works? You need 1 for each testicle.
But they can't self-fertilize. They have to find another buddy. In which case, or do they have to find 9 other buddies? Or
all at once?
It's all a bit much.
How many outputs for their multiple testicular
Let's
arrangements
assume when they have babies, they have a lot of babies.
But can they, do leeches have orgies? Or is it one-on-one? You didn't look that up?
I didn't. I wasn't
How did you not know? That would be one of my first questions. The moment you read 9 pairs of testicles, didn't you think, I'm going to be going, alrighty, that's all I want to talk about?
Look, I have got some things in here for you.
Thank you, because that's all I want to talk about. The rest of this is just wasting my time.
I do like your idea that an orgy is very much driven by how many testicles there's going to be.
That's why I have 12. You didn't know that?
Where we go. So they sit on you for 10 to 30 minutes, and then they loosen its grip and fall off. And then they don't get hungry for a whole year.
That's crazy.
Importantly, the bite site on the host can continue to bleed for 28 to 48 hours afterwards because it's got the Hiridin, which is the anti-clotting agent in there.
The warfarin clotting.
And in fact, the bloodletting capability of this means that you lose far more volume than just that first 5 to 10 mils. You might then lose 100 mils or 200 mils of blood because of the leech.
For Americans, that's about 4 gallons.
Yeah.
Ish. Margin of
error. Chain? Is it a chain?
A chain. That's it. 1 butyric.
Yeah. Okay. Bloodletting is an ancient therapy with origins that are suspected to go back as far as the Stone Age. It's thought that during this time, healers attributed many illnesses to either inappropriate, excessive collections of blood, so you got too much blood, or you got bad blood.
Yeah.
And the solution, obviously, to having bad blood or too much blood...
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
How do you tell the bad from the good?
Well, it's by the symptoms of your disease.
No, I mean in your body... If it's all mixed together, or do you kind of filter it?
I'm guessing when there's black blood, that's not
black
good.
Bad,
that's not good.
Green bad too.
Okay, so they would treat everything from gout to nervous breakdowns. Well, I'm not quite sure if nervous breakdowns existed in the Stone Age, but...
Why not? You don't know.
I can't do this anymore.
My club broke. What do I do?
I just love... that's... Maybe there were nervous breakdowns in the Stone Age.
I reckon they would be very angsty times.
You think that?
I do.
You think that? I kind of don't.
Really? you got the noble savage idea, don't
I feel they were very relaxed. I feel that they killed some animals and then they have a sleep and they play some whatever games they have.
Mahjong.
Yeah, with bones, with human bones. Yeah,
it's human bone mahjong. That's famed.
Hang on. Okay, so they're treating everything from gout to nervous breakdowns, syphilis, and the disease of virgins, as well as more conventional...
What? The disease of virgins?
The disease of virgins.
So what is it? I've got the virginity. I need to be bled.
I will come back to the disease of virgins. I'll give you that one in a little bit because...
I can't have my 19 testicles. I want to know about virgin as a disease. Virginity is a disease.
Yes. Virginity... No.
Yes, no.
There was a disease that was associated with virginity, not virginity in itself.
Right.
So Hippocrates. So not quite Stone Age, but we've moved forward now post Bronze Age. We're in.
Yeah, he wasn't Stone Age.
No, he's in the Marble Age. I think definitely Marble Age.
Marble Age. Yeah.
400 BCE. So here he is. Argent Fever or Caucasus. I think it's Caucasus. Takes place when the veins, being dried up in the summer season, attract acrid and bilious humours to themselves, and strong fever seizes the whole body, which experiences aches of the bones, and it is in a state of lassitude and pain. What do you do with that? Bloodletting. All right.
Dried up veins need to be...
Okay, here we go. In another piece, Hippocrates argued that the disease of virgins was due to impaired menstrual flow. Just a little bit of a sidebar, because Rod asked, do you want to do the disease of virgins?
Yes.
The disease of virgins had a range of usefully vague symptoms. You could feel faint, breathlessness, odd eating habits, skin colour of very unattractive hue, often greenish or very pale.
What the?
The theory was that little internal mouths.
Internal mouths.
Yes, internal mouths.
Lady mouths.
I assume so. No, it can't.
Boys too?
Usually lady, but boys too occasionally. The theory was that little internal mouths allowed blood from all over the body to get into the womb, and then it would build up and not be good.
Well, Freud took it a lot further, and by a lot further, I mean sounds the same.
But this is the ancients, so they didn't know. So yeah, so a few
basically women have wombs. We don't know what that shit is. That's got to be making them sick half the time.
And it's because of their virginity. Like it's making them sick. Their virginity is making them sick. And a few writers thought that particularly effeminate men could also succumb to the disease. Okay, there are two treatments for the disease of virginity.
I know one.
What is it?
Fucking.
Yes. So the definitely Hippocrates recommended fucking.
What a doctor.
To I know.
I got a script for you.
It really does sound like you should be written up for this.
You head to the chemist and he's like, oh God, I couldn't give out another one of those. I'm just exhausted.
Okay. So the theory was that sex would open up the body and sort of you could
oh my God, the images that
and move the retained blood around.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's John Carpenter's version of sex with a lot of gore, and that's horrible.
No, I think it's more of just a loosening. You know, all your tightness from before has been loosened.
Internal massage and immersion heating.
Yes, exactly. And all those little mouths that were inside the blood, inside the body somewhere, they've closed up. So
I don't want to put parts of me where there's a lot of little mouths dehydrating veins and moving.
Okay, that's yeah. Oh, obviously the other solution to the disease of virginity was bloodletting. Now,
okay. So which would you prefer?
I don't know.
Well, I do like bleeding. It's true.
Look, maybe the disease of virginity might show up in people that are not ready for the other solution.
Well, this is
which would be a good
that was
time.
My next question: at what age are you a virgin? Like, when do you go from child
to virgin?
To virgin.
It's almost like virginity is a social construct.
Wow.
It's not a biological thing.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's pretty clear whether you've had sex or not, but
not always.
About when you should. No, I don't mean you can tell. You can look at the body and go, "My God, they've had a bonk." I mean. You know if you've had a bonk.
Yeah, okay, you know, yeah.
Like it can be known.
Yes.
But the concept of being a virgin is not the same.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm wondering, like, is an 8-year-old...
Oh, okay.
Can an 8-year-old have a disease of virginity, or is that like a kid's disease?
I don't think so.
At 12, it's...
I'm guessing this is probably the time of flowering in the ancient world. Look, I assume it's when menstruation starts, and
which again messed up. You're 12, you've bled, you're a virgin now. No, I'm a 12-year-old. But anyway, these different times.
Different times.
Different lifespans.
This is not, I don't have any more on the disease of virgins.
Back to leeches.
I don't think I have any more on the disease.
Let's get back to bleeding.
Okay, so the earliest description of leech therapy itself. So there's a lot of people that are...
Dead Sea Scrolls.
That are, no, before that. Yeah, definitely before that. A lot of people that are keen on bloodletting, but the most common way of bloodletting is by actually cutting. Vivisection, cutting open a vein in a different place or something like that. But the earliest leech therapy can be found in the Sushruta Samhita, which is a 6th century BCE. So what is that, 2,600 years ago? Sanskrit, it's a Sanskrit text. It describes 12 types of leech. 6 were poisonous and 6 non-poisonous.
I've read it.
Well, I'm telling the listener.
Oh, God, they probably read it too.
And they were saying you could use it for skin diseases, sciatica, and musculoskeletal pain.
Sure, I'm sure it could give you all of those things.
No, it's
to get rid of
positive. A bunch of other people. So we've got other writers. So in 200 BC, Nicander of Colophon.
Oh yeah.
Nick of the Colander.
Yep.
I was looking up this story. I found a guy named Cylon of Cotron or something like that.
Oh hell yeah, you did.
I was like, yeah, that is a badass name.
I am Cylon of Cotron.
Yeah, he may have actually killed Pythagoras, which is so weird.
Fucking deserved it.
Or at least killed a bunch of Pythagoras' people by burning their house down.
They were boring.
I know, but
what have you been up to? Triangles.
The fact that Pythagoras was killed by Cylon
of Coltron.
It's so weird. But anyway,
this is a transformer.
Yeah. Where are we? Galen, another famous medical doctore. He's in the year 100 to the year 200 sort of era.
And an elf. Carry on.
Okay, prescribe bloodletting with leeches so as to balance the 4 humours. The 4 humours being blood, phlegm, black bile, yellow bile, of course. That will be on the test later as well. Or for such things as epilepsy, liver disease, melancholy, and pleurisy. Now, by medieval times, so we've gone from the ancient world to the medieval times. Bloodletting or phlebotomy and the use of leeches.
Good word.
Phlebotomy. Yeah.
It's a sound effect.
It's pretty well established. So they've got a bit of literature on how to do it and what to do. The best literature I'll come to in a second probably comes from the great Arabic physician Avicenna. And he's got some good descriptions. But in general, what they're thinking, is you can bleed from a variety of places on the body. So, often the veins of the arm.
I'm going to say anything below the top of the head can bleed.
No, top of the head as well. So if you have melancholy, you want to put the leech on your forehead.
On your sad place.
On your sad place. That's where the sadness is. Suck out the sadness there. And again, as we know now, well, the leech is much better than just cutting. Cutting, you can't stop it so much, and you can't control it very well. But the leech is slower, less painful. It's got the anticoagulants and the not the antihistamines, the other ones, the local anesthetic.
Anesthesia.
And you can depend on it a lot more.
Sure. It's one thing I've always said about leeches, very dependable.
Well, as well as dependable, another thing that they really liked in the ancient world is that there were places that you couldn't cut very well, such as when you're treating hemorrhoids or rectal prolapse or vulvar inflammations.
We're going to cut you.
No, exactly. So instead, on your hemorrhoids, we'll put a leech on.
Rock, hard place. Okay.
Or rectal prolapse. Vulval inflammations.
Rectal. Look, I understand the premise. You empty the thing that shouldn't be there of most of its stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
It looks better.
Exactly. And so, and a lot of people probably prefer to be bled by what's called an anonymous annelid, basically a leech that doesn't know any different, rather than a man with a lancet. So here's Avicenna. This is the great Arabic physician. This is in the year 1000, or roughly.
God, that sounds cool. The year 1000.
Well, we had the year 2000.
1000. The 1000 sounds cooler to me.
Yeah, okay.
Because I've seen the year 2000.
And we're not going to make the year 10,000.
And the year 2000, big letdown.
Stop it.
It was. I didn't fly here. Did you? In your personal flying transport?
No.
No,
I didn't.
Did you teleport? No.
Yeah, people have been investing. They've invested in the wrong things for years. So Avicenna, his canon of medicine.
Sorry, I know it's not that canon, but what a great idea. Come here. What's the solution? A fucking canon again.
You won't be sick after this. Don't worry.
At least it'll take your mind off it.
One should not employ leeches taken from unhealthy water or those whose excrement is black and muddy and whose movement immediately darkens water and renders it offensive in smell. Leeches should be kept a day before applying them, and they should be squeezed to make them eject the contents of their stomach. You got to make them hungry. If feasible, they should be given a little lamb's blood by way of nourishment, just to whet their appetite.
Oh, yeah.
The slime and debris from their bodies should be cleansed off, say with a sponge. The place where the leeches are to be applied must be well laved with niter water, give it a clean, and rubbed till red. Dry carefully.
To get the blood there.
Yeah,
okay.
get your blood up. Just make it.
It's like a garnish.
Dry carefully. Dip the leeches in fresh tepid water. Cleanse and apply with one's freshly washed hand or with a soft towel.
Oh.
This is so like
sounds really good
for the year 1000. You get a nice soft towel. Yeah. The leech it smells like a spa, like a day spa.
Well,
or
even keep things clean is impressive.
Massively. Yeah. Look, I think it's been well established that the Arabic physicians of that sort of era are
a couple of weeks ahead of the medieval.
So many miles ahead of their medieval brothers and sisters.
Yeah, who are basically maniacs with knives and hot coals.
I think so. Their bloodletting was a lot less accurate. The leech must
higher velocity.
Higher velocity bloodletting. Too much blood in you. The leech must not be let go until it's taken proper hold, as one can tell by the sinuous movements of the neck and from the circumstances that the head forms a right angle to the body. To ensure that they will not crawl into the gullet or nose or anus, one must draw a thread through the tail end from above down.
No way.
From side to side, otherwise you would, not from side to side, otherwise you would injure the animal.
A leech.
Yeah, you got to put a little leash on it, and it's got to be top down, not side to side. And this reminded me when I was reading this. Do you remember back in the 80s when arcades would have 20-cent machine, and the crafty people had drilled a hole in the 20-cent coin, and you put a thread through it, and then you can just
so I've seen that in cartoons.
Yeah, no, well, I don't know.
Cartoons.
I don't know if it ever happened.
It happens in cartoons.
There was always, like, my brother had a friend who had seen one, or
I know
had
a guy
one.
who met a person who knew a fella in another country.
But you know what? It wouldn't be that hard. Anyway, so if you're putting a leech on your anus, make sure you've got a thread on it so it doesn't crawl up.
You've just improved my weekends. I never thought of the thread.
If listener, you do get a leech up your anus,
yes,
your best remedy is a saltwater enema.
That's the remedy for many things.
It is, but
I do them anyway, just in case there's a leech up
I am
there.
so glad not to have to put a leech near my anus right now. Or ever, hopefully.
Yeah, don't get carried away. You never know.
Yeah. He also, Avicenna said, if bleeding persisted after the leech has been removed, use either a dusting of burnt galls, I don't know what that is, quicklime, ashes,
quicklime,
cobwebs, ground earthenware, or alum.
Cobwebs I get. Cobwebs I think have been used a lot in medicine.
You're still bleeding cobwebs?
Yeah, cobwebs, because they look clotty.
I get it, but it's just...
I'm more worried about quicklime. Like, there's a reason they use that to burn bodies.
Yeah, okay, no, I get that. Yeah, it's just a little dash of quicklime.
Just a dash.
No, I'm stuck on the cobwebs or ground earthenware. It's like the doctor is looking around their house. And you're still bleeding. Grind up some pottery.
Where's that broken plate, sweetheart? I found a use for it.
So anyway, Avicenna, miles ahead of the medievals, but not necessarily having solved all medical problems
yet. Not all.
Okay, leeching continued in this vein for 1,000 years or so. But in 1828, something radically changed. And it's not in the direction that you might be thinking.
You don't know what I'm thinking.
Just a word from our sponsors here. Hey, listener, did you know we also do a podcast on Australian politics?
I did know that. What's it called?
It's called G'day Sausages. You could listen to that as well if you want.
Not at the same time. That's confusing.
Yeah, I know. It's well
sequentially rather than in parallel would be my advice.
Spread them out, listener. You don't want the sequential. Like, I think at some point you're like, this is too much of these guys.
I don't understand. It's not only us in the other one.
That's true. That we're diluted, improved.
It's even though it's called sausages, it isn't all sausages in that one.
Anyway. If you listen to Australian politics, get amongst it. That's our sponsor for today. I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Good for you.
1828. Something changed.
What?
All right. Francois-Joseph Victor Brossais. Can you guess where he was born?
Yes.
What country?
Liechtenstein.
No, he's French. He's born in Saint Malo in Brittany.
Same country.
And the picture I have of him has the most French revolutionary haircut. Like, it's just... We must make our hair messy because it is the French Revolution.
Not just messy. I love the fact that the sides have to be pushed forward.
Swept forward.
It's a very unusual look.
It's so cool. So cool. It's
Go
like the
then.
wind is behind you.
Go on then.
I can't do it with my hair.
When you get sick of it, that and the moustache. I'll give you $10 American.
Okay. Francois-Joseph Victor Brossais. I'm just going to call him Brossais.
Why not Vic?
Someone called him FJV. FJVB or FJV.
That's too long.
So his dad was a doctor, and he got his first training from his dad. And then he went to a school which was called the College Francois Brossais, which is weird because that's his name.
He went to it. It was already named after him.
I don't know how that happened.
Was he older?
Unless his dad had the same name,
or he went when he was 40,
or it was renamed later.
Or he turned up and they went, this guy, he rocks.
He's great.
We're renaming the
You're
school.
the boss now.
This is a new school named after this boy.
Okay, age of 17, he entered one of the newly formed Republican regiments, so this is French Revolution times.
This is the Brossais regiment?
Of course it is. But ill health compelled him to withdraw after 2 years, so no longer the Brossais regiment.
He got Brossais syndrome?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
He resumed his medical studies and then obtained appointment as surgeon in the Navy. In 1799, he went to Paris, studied under other people. He graduated as an MD in 1803, and in 1805 joined the army. A lot of armies this time.
Yep.
He went to Germany and Netherlands with the army, and then later on to Spain. He became one of Napoleon's physicians and professor of general pathology in Paris.
Okay.
Now, he's doing quite well in his medical career.
Yeah.
The key thing happens probably in the 1820s. He disagreed with a lot of his predecessors.
Right.
Because he believed in the importance of physiology, what's going on in your body, which is a good thing.
What a radical.
I know.
I think if there's a problem with your body, it might be important to know what's going on in it.
Yeah.
No,
however,
that'll never stick.
However, his other ideas are interesting.
Less so?
So he believed that most diseases, in fact all diseases, occurred when normal functions failed or were modified, which is not a bad...
not untrue.
Not untrue.
No.
His theory, it's called medical physiology, argued that diseases are typically a result of irritation due to excitation or stimulation.
Okay.
So something is irritated and then it gets inflamed and then that causes a disease. So
He hasn't got racism in there yet?
No,
Is it coming?
Later on in his life, he gets to phrenology, but that's not really part of the story.
Yeah,
so he's of that sort of mind. Yeah. He reckons most of the inflammation occurs in your gastrointestinal tract.
Certainly does in mine.
Yeah, it does. It's not, well, yeah.
That's why I'm drinking water this morning.
Look at you. Aren't you healthy?
No, it's just because it's the morning.
Yeah, fair enough.
I got to drive.
Where would he? And then they pass it on to the other organs sympathetically. So
that's nice.
His theory led him to believe that mild bloodletting, or not quite mild bloodletting, could heal every illness. He passionately began to advocate for the use of leeches in bloodletting procedures.
So the equivalent of his MIMS on his table is not which tablet, it's just a long line with no blood and shitloads. I think you fall about 40% along the line.
Yes.
That's
so
great.
he's literally every illness. So this is 1828.
It's not if it's blood, it's how much.
Too much. It's all too much. He published De l'irritation et de la folie, and then Paris and Broussais went wild. So first of all, so his theory, medical physiology, became the most popular of the theories of medicine in Paris. Right. And Broussais himself then began to apply leeches like crazy to everything he could.
Just run down the street, pop a leech on you.
Well, it's not far
off. On his
off.
way to and from the salon.
So if he would apply 10 to 50 leeches to each patient anytime he saw them. He'd be using hundreds and hundreds of them in his daily practice. So when he himself got indigestion, he would put 50 to 60 leeches all over his body.
Given, I know you squeeze them to empty them, don't you? Because otherwise, if they only eat once a year, that's a lot of leeches in the cupboard.
Yeah, we'll come to that in a bit because it's a fascinating economy actually. So sometimes he put up to 90 leeches on people. He became known as Le Vampire de la Médecine.
Why? I mean, I don't speak French, but I've got a feeling I know what that means.
The word vampire,
It gives it away.
Apparently, he would drain up to 80% of someone's blood. Now, I don't know. I don't believe that can be the number.
I guess they weren't return patients.
I don't know, but
you don't do well with 20% of your blood.
What do we have? How many pints of blood do we have on us?
I think we got about 6 litres.
6 pints.
7 litres.
6 or 7 litres. So each leech, what did I say? 10 mils. And so he's doing possibly up to 100. But then the other thing is it's the bleeding afterwards. So that can be 100 mil. I'm doing maths live on air.
Hang on, if I do it now, and I'll just calculate it. Too much. Way too much. Way too much.
So supposedly up to 80%. I don't know if that can be that much. That just seems wild to me.
No, I'm very confident that would kill you. Very, very confident.
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't find any list of people dying from this. But that doesn't mean that they didn't.
They didn't keep those records.
What's
in that filing cabinet? We don't talk about.
There's a period where he worked at one of the military hospitals in France, and every new patient was admitted, regardless of their symptoms, broken leg or melancholy,
dropsy,
or pleurisy, or
the hemorrhoid.
What are some of the other old diseases?
Shoo. I've got the weege,
or starstruck. All of them.
Vapors, obviously.
All of them get 30 leeches.
That's pre-diagnosis. Like 30 leeches.
Yeah, that's it.
Why even bother?
Before we look at you, let's just give them the 30 leeches and then we'll go from there.
Your leg's broken. Too much blood. Squeeze the bone.
Supposedly, some soldiers would, after they've got the leeches on them, there's so many leeches, they look like they're covered in glittering chainmail. So they're...
Fuck off. Oh.
And remember, these things, they're getting bigger.
Yes,
so they're like 12 centimeters on, and it's just...
Dangling blood
all
sacks.
over... Oh. I am so disappointed. There are drawings of some other leech people in a bit, but there aren't photos of that time.
No lithographs?
No lithographs of a soldier covered in that many leeches. So he's treating typhoid fever, syphilis, variola, possibly the Virgin's disease, worms, tuberculosis, mental diseases by applying leeches all over the place.
Wow.
So he also had this idea, even when people weren't sick, then you might want a constitutional weakness. I couldn't understand why you would want this, but put some leeches
stronger, resisting it?
I don't know. It's like going to the gym with a weight vest on.
Yeah.
Put some leeches on before you go to the gym.
Yeah. Or to be interesting at parties. How are you? I'm fine. Is that it?
Bleeding a bit.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Like, I'm well. My job's good. I like my relationship, and I love where I live. Like, you're boring. But now you get a malady, boom,
Yeah,
something
there you
to talk
go.
about.
Way better. I've got leeches on me. Yeah. Going back to the stuff that Avicenna said, so 1,000 years earlier, Broussais also agreed that leeches are really good because you can put them on the delicate parts, like the eyes.
Nope. I'd rather put it on my ding-dong.
Well, he does put it on the ding-dong.
I'm sure he does, but seriously, it's like, okay, I can make you better. That's the good news. The bad news is you've got to choose between eye and wiener.
Eyes, gums, breasts, testicles. Where
no, I'm taking breast then. If I can get it on my chest,
yeah, no,
that's the winner, obviously.
Yeah, it's obviously.
But then I'm going ding-dong. Over eye.
What about your gums?
Ding-dong. Because that also means you'd have to sit there holding your mouth open for Christ knows how long. Sorry, old chap. You're going to take one for the team.
In 1859, so drawing on Broussais' theory, Gross's system of surgery. So Gross is a person. This is the book that he wrote, The System of Surgery. Right. Advocated leeching as a minor surgical procedure. Gross commented that application of leeches 3 to 5 to the uterus or upper vagina may be accomplished by placing the animals in the speculum, the parts having previously been well cleaned with water.
No. We got to put a little tube in here to let them in. No. No, I know there's a kink for everyone, but I'm pushing the no button. There's not even a, what is it, my fans or my whatever. Is that no? So I'm just going to pop these leeches on me. No, close.
So,
also, how long do they live up there?
Well, 30 minutes.
Do they?
And then they drop off.
Do they?
I don't know. It didn't have a list of how you get them out again. Maybe these are the ones with the threads. But that was Avicenna that was wise enough to put a thread through.
And that was from the savage lands that actually cared about stuff, so that wouldn't have made it to Europe.
Now, the weird thing is, this is the weird thing. So
this is the weird thing.
I was really shocked that the timing for this is all weird according to how people represent this. So most people talk about leeches as being a medieval sort of thing.
Yes, they do.
Like this is, well before the 1500s, this is 1100. Now, people were definitely using leeches then, but people went mad for leeches in the 19th century. This is 1820 to 1830 to 1840. This is when the high point, by far the high point of leeches.
But this is a period also, I think, I may have my eras wrong, where, tapeworms and stuff were taken as dietary cures. And
that still happens. So I don't know, but this is, well, I've talked before about the French having crazes. And I think there might have been something in the Revolutionary era in France.
I think you mean fashions, not crazes.
Well, I'll get to fashions in a sec. But there's definitely evidence that leech mania took off in France, England, the US, and Australia. Australia was not a very well-developed place at the time.
We didn't know we were doing it.
No, but people do. Like there's leeches on the First Fleet, stuff like that. So just to get an example of how many, the Manchester Royal Infirmary used 50,000 leeches a year in 1831.
Wow.
Now it's somewhere the cost of a leech. The cost of a leech, 1 penny to 2 shillings, which is I don't know my old timey numbers, but I think 2 shillings is a lot more than that.
I think 2 shillings is a lifetime's wages for a poor person.
I think they probably varied. Given how many leeches were around, obviously. But here's the key thing. We can convert it into modern times using the magic of percents. This was 4.4% of the hospital budget.
Whoa.
Like you're spending a noticeable... No, we got beds, we got walls, we got workers, and we got leeches. Like
heat?
Yeah, heat, maybe.
Water.
In 1824, England imported 5 million leeches. Between 1827 and 1844, so over a 15-year period, it's estimated that France imported over 500 million leeches. It seems like more than 1 billion throughout all of the 19th century. Like that, they were importing them like crazy.
That's wild.
They're getting them from America's importing leeches from Germany. A lot of them seem to come from Germany. England seems to have a few. Australia definitely exported some leeches, but I don't know if we had
we got a couple,
the right ones. So leeches are moving all around the world, and the demand made it a really valuable commodity.
it sounds like it.
And people are putting them in really fancy jars. Like you can find these examples of these super fancy
leech pots.
Leech pots. Yeah, that's it. On the outside, they're all painted in gilt and covered in swirls and stuff like that. On the inside,
they're full of fucking leeches.
No, leeches and filled with rainwater, pebbles, and moss. Like they made this little home for these leeches. People were really, really keen on them. In fact, going back to the fashion, so attractive were leeches thought to be that the fastidious women of Paris used to deck their dresses with embroidered leeches. Like it was a fashion symbol have leeches all over you. This is someone wearing 3 leeches on their neck. Like these are actual leeches. Yeah.
Instead of a necklace.
As you can guess, once they become fashionable, people get a little bit weird. And a little bit horny. So the British zoologist Arthur Everett Shipley, there is
leech banger?
I don't think he banged, but there is no doubt that the medicinal leech is one of the most beautiful animals. Their bodies are works of art marked with a delicious harmony of browns and greens and blacks and yellows, a beautiful soft symphony of velvety browns and greens and blacks. Their movements were graceful, even seductive.
Keep talking. I'm not done yet.
There's another guy,
I'm not going to lie, that sounds pretty good.
Look, I don't doubt, like the little if you're into little slimy things, they're the best of the little slimy things.
Are they?
There's another supposed Lord Thomas Erskine took up a friendship with 2 leeches that he'd been treated with. Then he kept them. He named them Home and Klein, and he talked to them. His friend Sir Sam Romilly. God, these people, Lord Thomas and Sir Sam.
Nothing better to do with their money and
would
time.
consult on tricky legal cases. I don't know. But here's the thing.
Pet leeches.
As you said before, this volume, $1 billion going into France and the money involved.
Cha-ching.
Where did the leeches come from?
You already told us, Germany.
Well, yeah, Germany, but how do we get... Oh, and England. They definitely collected them a lot in England. How do we get them? The leech collector, which some people have said...
That's what the third son does.
Yeah.
Zorro's third brother.
It's not a great job. It's not a great job. Huge numbers of people became leech collectors. So if you were a well-off leech collector, what you'd do is you'd get an old horse and walk it into a pond, and the leeches would get on the horse legs.
That makes sense.
If you're not a well-off leech collector...
You get your own legs?
You get your own legs.
You
walk into a pond. Yeah. And the leeches would attach to you because they can sense the waves.
All I'm hearing is free treatment.
Yeah,
so that's
maybe.
A benefit. This is the first job with the health plan.
Probably.
First job with the health plan.
They were described by George Walker in his 1814 book, The Costume of Yorkshire, as being predominantly Scottish women. They'd walk in there and they'd wait and they'd get dozens and dozens and dozens of leeches on them. Then they'd have to let them eat a little bit. Because if you pull them off, you can break
their faces.
So you got to wait until they detach, and then you grab them and put them in a thing. So these people are suffering heaps and heaps of blood loss, and then it keeps bleeding because it's got the anticoagulant in there, and they've just been in pond water, so it's not a healthy profession.
So what does that lead to? I don't understand. So they've had a healthy bleeding, then they've been washed.
Pond water in the bog.
Bog pond water.
Yeah, so it's not a great job. But I did like this. William Wordsworth, the poet.
Ode to the Leech Collector.
He wrote, basically, it's not an ode to the leech collector, but one of his longer poems has a bit where he talks about the leech collector, where he told that to these waters he had come to gather leeches, being old and poor.
With his bum.
Employment, no, this is not a rhyming poem.
It's not a
Employment hazardous and wearisome, and he had many hardships to endure. From pond to pond he roamed, from moor to moor, housing with God's good help by choice or chance, and in this way he gained an honest maintenance.
Underpants.
The thing I liked about this is that some people reckon this is where William Wordsworth is describing how hard it is to be a poet. And he's saying we're basically like leech collectors.
He's using the metaphor.
He's got the metaphor. It's as hard being a poet as it is being a leech collector.
That's probably not untrue. I think there's an immediate market for a leech in this era. Whereas if you walk in, I got a poem.
You don't have to write your poem while getting the blood sucked out of you in pond water.
Well, that maybe that's could be his process. How many poems have you written as an adult?
Well, that's the problem. I haven't stood in bog water getting my blood sucked out of it. And
You
then I
maybe
might be
moved.
moved. I'll write a haiku. I'll go stand in a pond and...
in a pond, leeches on my dick, yuck.
That's not a haiku.
It is now. It's Australian haiku. It's a haiku.
All right. Let's skip forward. How many years? 150 years.
Why not?
5-year-old Guy, the little boy who had his ear ripped off by a dog. They'd sewn it back on, but it was turning blacker and blacker. So his surgeon, Joseph Upton, had an idea. He'd seen leeches being used when he was a surgeon during the Vietnam War, and he thought, let's give it a go for Guy. He started calling around all around the country to try and find some hungry leeches. He eventually found a variety of the medical leeches, Hirudo medicinalis.
Yeah.
It was thought to be the world's only medical leech farm in England. And in fact, this farm is still in business now and has been in business since 1812, which I think is...
No way, that's wild.
They have held on to this niche. So it's called...
200 damn years.
Yeah, it's called Biofarm. I don't know if it was originally called Biofarm. I would be surprised. I would be very surprised if they came up with the name Biofarm.
Herodotus's medicinal mystery products.
So there's a little story about them gathering a box of the leeches and sending them on a plane onto Boston from Heathrow and stuff like that. So he started with two 1.5-inch worms attached to the kid's ear, so dangling on, not one on each side, one on.
By worms you mean leeches?
Leeches, yes. I don't know. People keep using the word worm.
Hey man, words matter.
It's like Moby Dick. In Moby Dick. He keeps describing the whale as a fish, which is kind of cool.
Come on, man.
No, but they're the fishermen of the whale. Yeah, I know.
Come on, that's disgusting. Melville, you wanker.
What the fuck do you know?
Was it Melville?
It was Melville. Yes, it was Melville.
Woo!
You got it right.
I learned a literature.
You got a literature. So they swelled up to 8 inches long, looking like fat cigars. And
when the doctor says, all right, I'm going to talk to parents. I got an idea.
Well, the boy's mother, Darlene, said, do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Look, the ear perked up right away. It worked. They put a few more leeches over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then there's the picture there. It's a healthy, normal-looking ear.
Crazy.
So they solved the problem. And little boy Guy.
So the ear was still on him.
Yeah.
Turning black. The leeches cleaned out the poop. The ear regained its stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So the worry was that the surgery would be a fail, even though they detached it. The clotting of blood in the reattached ear might then cause the ear to do bad stuff.
Yeah,
like medical bad stuff,
icky,
and die or something like that. Anyway, so the leeches solved the problem, and little boy Guy wrote a note to the Biofarm owner, Dr. Sawyer. Thanks for helping my ear. Guy Condelli. It wasn't a great note. I mean, it's in kids' handwriting, so it looks better.
It's important that he did it. Thank you notes are very important. My parents taught me that.
It's very nice. It's very nice. I think it's lovely. And so he went back to school.
It's terrible.
In 2004, leeches were approved by the FDA as a medical device for adjuvant therapy in plastic surgery and microsurgery. So the techniques for using leeches are pretty much not very much different from 1,000 years ago, Avicenna described in his Canon of Medicine. Worms are typically applied to the flap or digit 3 or 4 times daily, and then you taper them off after a while. And you've got to be careful of, there's got to be no anesthetic left, otherwise the worms won't attach. Wear gloves, otherwise they'll grab onto you.
Yeah.
And in 2002 survey of 50 plastic surgery units in the UK, 80% had used leeches in the previous 5 years.
Look, this sounds good, but if you really want to be sure it worked, does Gwyneth Paltrow recommend them?
I'm sure. If she hasn't, she would.
It's coming.
She would. So the weird thing is, why did leeches die out? Why did the craze for leeches that happened in 1820s, 1830s die out?
I've got a theory.
Yeah, give me your theory.
Well, I figure we went from using all the gross things of nature to making things as artificial as possible. Mm-hmm. We had to look sterile and remote from nature to be healthy and well and look sciencey.
Okay.
That's one of my suspicions.
The rise of science. Well, look. The standard thinking has been it's the rise of a more modern sort of science.
Yeah,
that people went, oh, that's ridiculous. That's all superstitious and weird.
Old people are dumb, yeah.
And sure, there are a whole lot of dumb ideas in the use of leeches there. Not really. They stopped using them because they pretty much ran out of leeches. Like
the great leech crisis
they became too
1851.
expensive to use in the volumes that they were previously using, and in that time
Right.
you get a bunch of other therapies. You probably do get other ways of looking at these diseases. So that transitions definitely happens. But really, the reason that people weren't using them so much was that they
ran out.
They ran out. They became too expensive.
That's interesting. I suppose it makes sense though, because really, in the end, it's not super complicated.
No. And look, and so people are still collecting Hirudoin as well as an anticoagulant. Like that, it's got medical uses just in the chemicals there. But there are definitely times, microsurgery, plastic surgery, and stuff like that, where you want to get rid of a little bit of blood, and leeches are about the most accurate way that you can do it.
That's cool.
So there you go.
I'm gonna go and get some.
There you go. It just blows my mind. I had this idea that leeches were some sort of totally medieval thing.
Yeah.
That
Basically idiotic.
Idiotic.
Like many things.
And yes, there was a whole lot of idiocy. And don't put a leech into your anus.
No, unless you got a little rope around its butt.
Leech on a leech. The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant, him, Rod Lamberts, brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science
And Ancient Therapies.